The Xerathi Dominion had conquered exactly 847 star systems through the sheer power of mathematical perfection. Their war algorithms could predict enemy movements 17 steps ahead. Their tactical computers processed battle scenarios faster than most species could blink, and their commanders possessed the emotional range of particularly efficient calculators. For 3 millennia, this approach had worked flawlessly. Entire civilizations had surrendered upon witnessing the cold, mechanical precision of Xerathi warfare, which made their complete and utter defeat at the hands of humanity all the more embarrassing, especially since the decisive factor turned out to be a small, furry creature that spent most of its time sleeping and occasionally destroying furniture for reasons that defied all logic. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start with Admiral Corvex, whose 6 eyes were currently focused on the tactical display showing the human vessel that had just dropped out of hyperspace in Sector 7 Alpha. The ship was, well, calling it modest would be generous. It looked like someone had welded together spare parts from a scrapyard and decided to call it a day. Analysis. Corvex commanded in the flat, emotionless tone that had struck fear into the hearts of countless species. His bridge crew, a collection of tall, gray-skinned beings with cranial ridges that suggested evolution had prioritized brain capacity over fashion sense, immediately bent to their tasks. Vessel designation appears to be Lucky Strike, reported Science Officer Xerathi, her voice carrying the same mechanical precision as her superiors. Technology level is curious. Their hull composition suggests they are using refined titanium alloys, approximately 400 years behind our current standards. Armament. Conventional plasma cannons, basic missile systems, and... Xerathi paused, her secondary eyes blinking in what passed for confusion among her species. Sir, there's an anomalous reading from their cargo bay. Some kind of life form, but the biosignature doesn't match any known combat species in our databases. Admiral Corvex's primary eyes narrowed while his auxiliary pair continued monitoring the tactical display. In his extensive military career, he had encountered every conceivable form of biological warfare. The Thraxians used giant space wasps, the Moldari deployed sentient fungi that could corrode hull plating, and the less said about the Vorthan battle slugs, the better. But this reading was different. Mass approximately 4 kilograms, heart rate elevated. Brain activity suggests high intelligence but erratic thought patterns, Xerathi continued, clearly struggling to categorize whatever she was detecting. Sir, I've never seen bio readings quite like these. Meanwhile, aboard the Lucky Strike, Captain Martinez was having a significantly less dramatic morning. She was currently trying to prevent her coffee from floating away in the artificial gravity that had been acting up since Tuesday, while simultaneously attempting to shoo a small orange tabby cat away from the navigation console. Whiskers, for the love of... Get off the helm controls, she muttered, gently lifting the cat and depositing him on the floor. Whiskers, displaying the magnificent indifference that was his species' greatest evolutionary achievement, immediately jumped back onto the console and began batting at the blinking lights. Captain, called Chief Engineer Dmitry Volkov from across the bridge, his Russian accent thick with amusement, we're being scanned by that Xerathi battleship. Very thoroughly, I might add. Well, that's not ominous at all, Martinez replied, finally managing to secure her coffee in a magnetic cup holder. Put them on screen, Dmitri. Let's see what the galaxy's most humorless species wants with us. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing Admiral Corvex in all his imposing, emotional vacant glory. His 6 eyes fixed on Martinez with the intensity of someone conducting a particularly important autopsy. Human vessel. You have entered Xerathi space without authorization, Corvex announced. State your intentions. Well, Admiral. Martinez began, then paused as Whiskers leaped onto her shoulder, tail swishing directly in front of the camera. We're just passing through, actually. Heading to the Centauri trade hub. Nothing exciting. On the Xerathi bridge, chaos erupted. Well, the Xerathi equivalent of chaos, which resembled a very orderly emergency meeting. Sir. Xerathi's voice cracked with something that might have been excitement if Xerathi were capable of such inefficient emotions. The anomalous life form has positioned itself in a surveillance posture. It's watching us. Admiral Korvex leaned forward, studying the small creature perched on the human captain's shoulder. Its eyes were large, alert, and seemed to be analyzing the Xerathi bridge with an intelligence that was both alien and somehow calculating. When it tilted its head, Korvex felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: uncertainty. "Captain Martinez," he said slowly, "what is the tactical designation of that unit?" Martinez blinked. "You mean Whiskers? He's our morale officer." The translation systems aboard both ships worked overtime trying to parse the statement. Morale officer? What kind of military classification was that? The Xerathi had no equivalent concept. Their troops maintained peak efficiency through rigorous psychological conditioning, not through whatever this small, furry creature was supposed to accomplish. "I see," Admiral Korvex replied, though he very clearly did not see. "And this morale officer, what are its combat specifications?" At this point, Whiskers decided to demonstrate his combat specifications by knocking Martinez's coffee mug off her armrest, sending it clattering to the floor. The captain sighed and bent to pick it up, while Whiskers settled into her now vacant chair and began grooming his paw with the sort of focused intensity usually reserved for disarming nuclear weapons. The Xerathi bridge fell silent. Every officer stared at the screen, watching this apparent tactical maneuver with growing alarm. The creature had just displaced the human commander from her position of authority and was now performing some kind of ritual. "Analysis," Korvex whispered. "Sir, the entity has successfully executed a dominance display," Xerathi reported, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "It removed the human captain from her command position through calculated destruction of her sustenance delivery system, then assumed territorial control of her chair while performing what appears to be a purification ceremony." And the human captain's response? She appears to be accepting this subordination willingly, sir. She's even making what our linguistic computers interpret as affectionate sounds at the entity." Indeed, Martinez was making little cooing noises at Whiskers, who had now sprawled across a chair in a position that made it absolutely clear he had no intention of moving. Ever. Admiral Korvex felt his world shift slightly. In 3 millennia of warfare, he had never encountered a species that allowed their weapons systems to openly challenge command authority. The implications were staggering. What kind of advanced psychological conditioning allowed for such a flexible command structure? How did they maintain unit cohesion when their soldiers could apparently override their officers at will? "Captain Martinez," he said carefully, "we must discuss the terms of your passage through our territory. However, first I must understand the nature of your morale officer. Is it standard protocol for such units to assume command during first contact situations?" Martinez looked down at Whiskers, who was now upside down in her chair, paws in the air, looking for all the world like he was surrendering to an invisible enemy. "Standard protocol? Admiral, you've clearly never owned a cat. They don't follow protocol. They create protocol, usually whatever's most inconvenient for everyone else." The translation of this statement caused actual sparks to fly from several Xerathi computer terminals. The entity didn't follow protocol. It created protocol? What kind of advanced AI system could adapt its behavioral parameters in real time based on situational inconvenience metrics? "Sir," Xerathi whispered urgently, "recommend we deploy Battle Fleet Omega. We may be dealing with a weapon system beyond our current understanding." Admiral Korvex nodded grimly. "Agreed. Signal the fleet. Full combat readiness." While the Xerathi mobilized the most powerful battle group, Martinez was dealing with a crisis of her own. Whiskers had discovered the laser-pointed chief engineer Volkov used for presentations, and was currently chasing the red dot around the bridge with the single-minded determination of a guided missile. "Dimitri, put that thing away before he breaks something important," Martinez called out, trying to catch the cat as he bounded from console to console, leaving a trail of accidentally activated systems in his wake. "But Captain, look how happy he is," Volkov replied, clearly enjoying the chaos. "Besides, he's not hurting anything. Well, except for the environmental controls, the communications array, and I think he just activated the defensive screens." Sure enough, the Lucky Strike shields flickered to life just as the first wave of Xerathi scouts appeared on the sensor grid. The timing was so perfect that Admiral Korvex felt his primary heart skip a beat. "Sir, The human vessel has activated defensive systems, reported his tactical officer. The timing suggests they detected our scout squadron before our sensors registered the activation order. How is that possible? Unknown, sir. Their technology should be incapable of such precision. Unless... The tactical officer paused, consulting his instruments. Sir, the activation coincided exactly with another movement from the anomalous entity. It appears to have triggered the defensive systems through some form of kinetic interface. On screen, they could see Whiskers had cornered the laser dot against a blinking panel and was now pouring at it with intense concentration. Each swipe of his paw caused different systems to activate: navigation, communications, weapons targeting, even the coffee machine in the ship's galley. Mother of the Void, Corvex breathed. It's interfacing with their entire ship's computer through direct neural kinetic manipulation. No wonder their technology appears primitive. They don't need advanced computers when they have biological processors of this caliber. The battle, when it officially began, was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. The Xerathi approached with their traditional mathematical precision, battle computers calculating optimal attack vectors, predictive algorithms modeling every possible human response. They had accounted for everything: ship maneuverability, weapon capabilities, even the psychological profiles of the human crew. They had not accounted for Whiskers getting the Zoomies. It started when a piece of space debris struck the Lucky Strike's hull, with a metallic ping. To the humans, it was background noise. To Whiskers, it was the clarion call of the hunt. He exploded into motion, racing through the ship like a furry missile, triggering systems as he went. First, he crashed into the helm controls, sending the ship into a wild spiraling maneuver that coincidentally avoided a concentrated plasma barrage from 3 Xerathi destroyers. The alien commanders watched in horror as their carefully coordinated attack passed harmlessly through empty space, while the human vessel danced away with impossible grace. Evasive pattern Whiskers Alpha, Martinez announced, because naming the maneuver seemed important, even if she had no idea how they'd pulled it off. Sir, their ship just executed a combat maneuver that shouldn't be possible with their engine configuration, the Xerathi tactical officer reported, his voice rising in pitch. The G-forces alone should have killed their crew, but they are still broadcasting on all frequencies. Admiral Corvex studied the tactical display, watching the Lucky Strike's impossible dance through the battlefield. What's the biological entity doing now? On screen, Whiskers had discovered a fascinating new game, chasing his own tail while walking along the top of the weapons console. Each step triggered different firing sequences, sending plasma bolts and missiles in seemingly random directions. But the directions weren't random. Not even slightly. The first missile, fired when Whiskers stepped on the launch button while doing a full 360-degree turn, struck a cloaked Xerathi strike fighter that hadn't even been detected yet. The second volley, triggered when he sat down heavily on the rapid-fire controls, created a defensive grid that intercepted incoming torpedoes with surgical precision. How? Admiral Corvex demanded of his bridge crew. How is their targeting computer calculating intercept vectors for weapons we haven't even fired yet? Sir, Zara 9's voice was barely a whisper. I don't think it is their targeting computer. I think it's the entity. Watch the correlation between its movements and their weapon systems. They watched. They calculated. They ran the numbers through their most advanced tactical computers. The results were always the same: impossible. Every casual movement the creature made resulted in a military action of devastating effectiveness. When it stretched and yawned, their point defense systems activated with perfect timing. When it played with what appeared to be a small toy mouse, their offensive weapons targeted weak points in Xerathi ship designs with an accuracy that suggested detailed knowledge of their classified technical specifications. Sir, the tactical officer announced, his voice cracking, we've lost 6 ships to what appears to be recreational activities. Admiral Corvex stared at the screen, watching Whiskers batting at a dangling cable, while sitting on what was clearly the human ship's primary weapons console. Each playful swipe sent another precisely targeted energy beam toward the Xerathi fleet, and each beam found its mark with impossible accuracy. This is not warfare, he muttered. This is art. Deadly, incomprehensible art. The final blow came when Whiskers, apparently bored with the cable, decided to investigate the blinking lights on the communications console. His paws danced across the controls with feline grace, accidentally composing what the Xerathi translation computers interpreted as the most sophisticated psychological warfare broadcast in galactic history. What actually happened was that Whiskers stepped on the audio pickup while purring contentedly, then activated the emergency broadcast system while kneading the transmission controls with his paws. The resulting transmission was 15 minutes of pew, rumbling purr punctuated by the occasional meow and the sound of him grooming himself. To the Xerathi, it was something else entirely. "Sir," Zara 9 reported, her voice barely controlled, "the entity is broadcasting on all frequencies. The acoustic patterns suggest. Sir, I believe it's some form of hypnotic indoctrination signal. The mathematical complexity of the waveforms is beyond our comprehension. And the secondary harmonics, they are designed to target Xerathi neurological frequencies specifically." Admiral Korvex listened to the sound emanating from their speakers, a deep, rhythmic rumbling that seemed to resonate in his bones, punctuated by short, sharp vocalizations that somehow suggested vast intelligence and supreme confidence. It was terrifying. "They know our biological weaknesses," he whispered. "How could they possibly know our neurological resonance frequencies? We've never encountered humans before today." The truth was that Whiskers was simply happy. He'd had a good day of knocking things over, chasing lights, and receiving attention from his humans. The purring was contentment, nothing more. But try explaining that to a species that had never experienced contentment and didn't understand the concept of doing something just because it felt good. "Sir," the communications officer announced, "the entity's transmission it's having an effect on the crew. Some of our officers report feeling strange, relaxed. One of them actually smiled, sir." This was the final straw. In Xerathi culture, smiling was a sign of dangerous mental instability. To have the military personnel exhibiting symptoms of happiness in the middle of combat was unprecedented and terrifying. "Full retreat," Admiral Korvex ordered. "Signal all ships. We are withdrawing from this sector immediately." "Sir?" "But our orders were to secure this system for the Dominion." "Our orders," Korvex replied firmly, "did not account for weaponized contentment and tactical felines. Signal High Command. The humans possess psychological warfare capabilities beyond our current understanding. Recommend immediate cessation of hostilities and opening of diplomatic channels." "Should we inform them that we're surrendering, sir?" Admiral Korvex looked at the screen one more time. Whiskers had found a comfortable position on top of the communications console and was now sleeping, one paw dangling over the transmission controls. Occasionally his paw would twitch in his sleep, sending brief signals to the Xerathi fleet that their computers interpreted as complex tactical updates. "No," he said quietly. "I don't think they realize they've won." He was absolutely right. Aboard the Lucky Strike, Captain Martinez was scratching Whiskers behind the ears while reviewing their navigation charts. "Well, that was weird," she commented to Chief Engineer Volkov. "The Xerathi just left. All of them. Without saying goodbye or anything." "Maybe they had somewhere important to be," Volkov suggested, checking his instruments. "Should we continue to Centauri?" "Might as well. Though I'm curious what got them so excited." They kept staring at Whiskers like he was some kind of superweapon. Martinez looked down at the cat, who was now sprawled across a lap, purring loudly and drooling slightly on her uniform. "Can you imagine? A weapon system. You can barely catch a toy mouse, can you, buddy?" Whiskers opened one eye, fixed her with a look of supreme indifference, and went back to sleep. 3 months later, the Xerathi Dominion officially requested peace negotiations with humanity. Their diplomatic message cited humanity's advanced tactical biological systems and incomprehensible strategic methodologies as reasons for seeking an immediate end to hostilities. The peace treaty was signed aboard a neutral space station, with Captain Martinez representing humanity and Admiral Korvex representing what remained of Xerathi military pride. During the ceremony, Whiskers managed to knock over the ceremonial declaration of peace, step in the special ink used for official signatures, and then walk across the treaty documents, leaving a trail of paw prints that the Xerathi delegation interpreted as humanity's official seal. To this day, those paw prints are displayed in the Xerathi capital as evidence of humanity's tactical superiority. Military academies across the Dominion study the Battle of Sector 7 Alpha as a masterpiece of psychological warfare and adaptive strategy. Meanwhile, Whiskers remains blissfully unaware that he single-handedly ended a galactic war. He spends his days doing the same things as always done, sleeping in inappropriate places, knocking things off tables, and purring when he's happy. The humans, for their part, still don't understand what happened. They've been invited to join the Galactic Defense Council, offered advanced technology exchanges, and asked to establish military training programs for other species interested in learning their feline combat doctrines. Captain Martinez usually just smiles and nods during these meetings while Whiskers sleeps on her lap, occasionally twitching in his dreams and causing entire alien delegations to take frantic notes about advanced tactical REM cycle protocols. The galaxy is probably safer this way. After all, if the most feared military force in known space can be defeated by a cat having a good day, perhaps the universe's problems aren't as complicated as everyone thinks. Sometimes the most effective weapon against rigid thinking and calculated cruelty is something that simply doesn't care about your rules and just wants to knock your coffee mug off the table. Whiskers wouldn't understand the philosophical implications of his victory, of course. But then again, that's probably exactly why it worked.